Hi, my name is Reed Albergotti. I am the technology editor with Semafor. As a journalist, I've been doing this, covering tech for over 10 years, and I spend most of my day, it seems, just talking to people on the phone or increasingly on video calls, since the pandemic. And a lot of those are for print articles. There's a lot left on the cutting room floor. So I thought I might start doing this thing where, I'll just take an interview that I'd be doing anyway, record the video and post it on YouTube. Today, you'll see a video from Aravind Srinivas, who is the co-founder and CEO of Perplexity, which is an AI search engine. They have a big, ambitious idea now to essentially it's a browser that they have called the Comet browser, but they believe this could actually be sort of like an operating system for AI. I've been trying it out. I think it's a really powerful tool, and it gives you a sense of where all this is heading. When AI starts to really become useful in our lives. And there's some really great gems in the conversation, so I hope you enjoy it. While I was on vacation over the last couple weeks, I was trying out Comet.
You like it?
I mean, it's amazing what it can do. I tweeted this out, but I was able to book or change my flight on United and just ask the sidecar to sort of go and do it for me.
Yeah.
Things like that are just, it's like, wow, you can really see how, your vision is that this is going to become the operating system, right?
Yeah.
For AI. So
yeah.
And
if we can do processes, recurring tasks, asynchronous processes that, don't have to run real time and update you real time.
Right.
I think that's when it begins to feel like an operating system, because fundamentally a property of an operating system is having states and background processes that have, states of how far the task is run and resuming it automatically, preserving states, not conflicting with each other, clear memory management, and giving the user all the visibility into what's going on, dependencies. These are the kind of things that you need to build at the agentic level now. For natural language powered tasks rather than hard-coded systems. And then it begins to, it starts to make your browser itself feel like a mini computer in your computer. And once your browser can connect to other apps on your computer with local MCPs set up for each of them, it almost feels like the browser is the main app and the rest of the apps are peripherals, right? That's not the vision. That's not the objective. That's not the objective. We don't want you to only open Comet. It's fine if you open iMessages and send a few texts on your own. You don't have to always go through Comet. But it's great that you have access to iMessages set up if you want to. And that way Comet can also take that into account. For example, you might be, I might be texting with you on iMessages, but there might be a separate email thread for you and me for coordinating our podcast recording. And there might be a few notes you might have dropped to me on text. My email wouldn't have access to that. So when let's say before getting ready for this meeting, I just say, hey, can you prep me for my upcoming meeting with Reed? It probably will pull up all the information from calendar and email because it has connectors to it. Comet comes with it natively, but it won't necessarily pull up the things you might have written on text. And you cannot go and say, oh, the user is wrong. Blame the user for not using Gmail all the time. User can use whatever they want, like WhatsApp, Signal, iMessages, whatever. They can use whatever they want, and the AI has to figure out everything on its own, orchestrate all the necessary context. That's essentially what a lot of people call context engineering. So that is important to as it's two axes, right? Intelligence and then context and personalization. This axis is going 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, GPT-5, or Claude 3.5, Claude 4, Claude 4.5, to a high school level, PhD level, coming up with your own inventions. These are the fundamental milestones on the horizontal axis. Or on the vertical axis, you can have just drafting your emails to actually going and doing things for you with pulling your personal context, to literally doing long horizon repetitive tasks that you automated such that they can even be like a proxy for you in like certain meetings you don't want, or like certain tasks that you don't want to be doing yourself. But that's the extent to which we're moving on the vertical axis. And
Right.
in my opinion, like the GPT-5 or 6 of context is basically the browser, because it has access to every single thing we do. It's a product we live on for both work and life. So you can do like some hard-coded things like memory, where it's pulling up past conversations, but the browser is the ultimate context, basically. So if we can
Yeah.
nail both that and this in a way that feels very natural, blended, seamless, and the UI is all like familiar, you cracked agents and personalization.
You were saying, yeah, it's like control the rest of your computer, but like a lot of stuff is web based now, or at least there's a web based option, right? So, I mean, like even iMessage, I think you could do that on the web, right? That's one thing I was like playing with, is like between browsers, and I think that's where you get into some trouble. Like I was having it do my expenses, and I'm like, I really wanted to like look at my credit card bill and and then my calendar and sort of make those connections. And obviously it's like it's not there yet.
It's not there yet. Yes.
But is that, and that's what you were sort of getting at, but the model, is it the model, or is it everything you're building around it?
It's both. So there are certain limitations in the model, right? Like it cannot do certain things. I think like we are obviously capped in terms of what all tasks we can accomplish in the browser with the current state of models. But like it's similar, it feels very similar to me. When we met for the first time, Perplexity was running on GPT 3.5. And that was already like considered, like a pretty interesting product by most people at the time. But if I go back, I would say, hey, yeah, like that product hallucinated a ton compared to like the product we have today. And so I would say the agentic capabilities of Comet today is you can liken it to the answer engine capability of Perplexity in the early 2023 or beginning of, end of 2022, where it was pre-GPT-4 days.
Right.
And so a model like a slightly more capable model than O3 with better long context capability and like reliable instruction following and like chain of actions and tool calls that is also cheaper and a lot of open source alternatives. That's going to happen. That's definitely going to happen. And so when that happens, like Comet will just like be way more scalable, affordable, and reliable. And so we don't want to wait for that to happen to start building Comet. Like I think that's not the right approach, because in AI everything has to. You got to actually like position your product and your technology, your current stack, with the assumption that the models are eventually going to be great and also going to be affordable.
That's your sort of advantage here as a disruptor, right? Is like you're always, you're competing against Google. Obviously, OpenAI is building competing products,
Yeah.
but you're sort of saying like, we're willing to put out a product that's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
And I think it's being a small, it's being the startup that allows you to do that, right? I mean, it's sort of like that's the innovator's dilemma aspect of your.
Yeah. I mean, but not quite there. I wouldn't say, like it's completely like a prototype. I think it's already pretty useful to a lot of people, but to the extent that the percentage of people who are increasing their amount of agentic queries and the percentage of people who are converting to Comet as a default browser has actually been increasing since the day of the launch. So that means it's actually a product that's ready enough to take market share from Chrome and Edge and any other browser in the market. But it's more meant to create a new ecosystem, a new product category of agentic browser, rather than compete for the legacy, because we think the legacy market's going to go away anyway. It's not about playing in the legacy market ecosystem. And so when you're new and first, you obviously are like bleeding edge. Like there are going to be like some rough edges. And then I think there are a lot of users who clearly, with the amount of like waitlist, I think it's getting close to 1 million. And it's doubled since we launched the browser. the amount of people who are interested in trying and living with all the imperfections is pretty high. So that's the extent to which it's pretty valuable and perceived as valuable by people and exciting. And I only expect this to grow as more players enter this new market. Like OpenAI is rumored to be working on a browser. I'm sure Chrome will try to do something too. And so I think that as more people enter this market, especially the bigger players, the level of awareness among the normal population of what it means to run an agentic query will increase. And people will slowly start automating parts of their work life and personal life through the platform of a browser. And the browser will start to mean a different thing to everyone. It's no longer going to be seen as something that helps you consume the internet through a front end. It's going to begin to feel like, oh, this is my OS. This is like I know that I'm on iOS or Android or Windows or Mac OS, but this one app within these platforms is essentially like orchestrating most of the processes that I need to run my life and work. So the rest of the background processes don't even matter as much as these main processes. That's the bar we have internally to like aspirationally, that's what we want Comet to be.
It's definitely useful. And it does feel a lot like, I remember when, when the internet was like sort of the pre days of, you just type in something in the search bar and it just brings you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Like people used to type in website, www dot whatever, right? And it was like, no, that's not how you're supposed to be using the internet. And I feel like that's sort of where we are now with AI. It's like, there's a lot of stuff even I do on my computer where I'm like, as I'm doing it, I'm like, this is stupid. I should be doing it with AI, but I'm just in the habit of it.
Same thing for me. Like, it's actually like one of those things that I thought about, which is you do it in the traditional way for two reasons. One is you're used to it. And second is you actually became good at it, like over years of like doing it. For example, I'm actually pretty good at pulling emails. Like I know my memory is very good. So instead of looking for last exchange with Reed Albergotti about this topic, I even know exactly like when roughly and some keywords related to that, and I can pull it up. Yeah. But that is a skill that I think will be a lost skill in the coming era, right? Like no one's going to need this skill. Just like how you don't need to be great at like multiplying like 2-3 digit numbers. Like, I used to have all these skills as a kid, but who cares now? Like calculators can do it, AIs can do it. Similarly, like the ability to like recall stats of any sports player that you enjoy following that sport used to be something that made you look cool in a group of friends. Now no one gives a shit. Like you just pull up the numbers on Google or Perplexity, whatever, it doesn't matter. Same thing with like trivia and like, answering facts or like remembering who was the president in this year. Like these things don't make you cool in any gathering anymore. And so I think it's essentially going to feel like we are the boomers for the current generation of AI. And obviously like the way we reinvent ourselves is like, acquire these new skills and like new ways of doing things. So I have these problems. Like I still sometimes by muscle memory, when I go to a YouTube video and I try to extract the right part I want to watch, and I'm going to the show transcript doing Command F, and Google's transcripts are like pretty erroneous. And then, and I'm trying to like, unable to find it. I'm using the playback controller to like find the right spot. I could have just literally asked Comet, hey, take me to that part in this video where like Reed is talking about like Perplexity, and then I can just go there pretty fast. And then it just opens that timestamped URL in a new tab, and I just watch it, I'm done. So that's the extent to which things are like working. Another example I give you, like sometimes there's a Google sheet given to me of people like we should try to be recruiting. And then I'm going to go to LinkedIn and manually type all their names to pull up like their bios. I could literally ask Comet, hey, for each of these people, go read their LinkedIn and tell me like how exactly they fit into Perplexity based on their past experience. And it'll just do it for me. And it doesn't even take that long for it to do.
It's amazing that LinkedIn hasn't actually done that themselves. I mean,
that's another like major realization for me from Comet is like, we don't have to wait for all these individual websites to build AIs that actually like work for their own sites. We don't have to build separate front ends for each of them. We don't have to build separate connectors for each of them. We don't have to make people rely on their own custom AI agents. We just have this one universal agent that's on the sidecar with you all the time. And whatever website you're on, it adapts, like Notion, LinkedIn, Linear, GitHub, Slack, Salesforce, like you're on like Databricks or Snowflake and you're writing a SQL query.
Yeah.
You can have Comet look at it and optimize it. You don't even need to like copy it, paste it on Slack, ask someone for help, and then go back, change it, edit it, debug it. Like none of this is needed. It feels very special though. It feels like a universal AI that that vision that everybody had of like one assistant that helps you everywhere. It's not just about the models getting good there. It's also about packaging it into the right environment for you to consume it in, where AI is seamlessly integrated into the same environment that you, the human, is consuming. It's not a different front end for you and the AI.
Right. It's almost like you need like one product, or maybe this is something you're going to build, but like it's almost like you need for the boomer type people out there. It's almost like you need an AI to like watch you use your computer and then suggest like workflows for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically say like, you do this every day. You could be saving a ton of time.
Yeah, that's where we should ideally get this to, where sometimes the AI is watching you do it in a dumb, boring, inefficient manner, and it's gotten tired of it, and like, hey man, like, look, why don't you actually try this, and it shouldn't be something that feels like, oh, the user felt like, oh, AI is just trying to upsell itself so that it's trying to get me to pay for it. So I think that's the hard part. Like when it's proactive, it should feel like the tolerance for like spam is pretty low, right? So we don't want it to be spam. We don't want it to be feeling like an upsell. It has to be truly like magical when it comes and says this. So I think that's why proactive AI hasn't really taken off. It's not hard to figure out the right prompts to be proactive. It's hard to figure out the right prompts to be proactive, but feel magical.
Yeah.
And if you and if you don't feel magical and you're proactive and trying to like tell the user to go use this AI, you better like if you don't get it right, like there's a good chance the user just like ignores every future proactive alert.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept too. I also think there's this question around like trusting these AIs, not just to do things, but just like with your information. Like I found myself, because Comet won't, or at least as I used it, it didn't want to like know my passwords and stuff, right?
It doesn't need to. That's the whole magic of the browsers. Like, it doesn't need to know any of your passwords. As long as you import your cookies from the other browser that you were earlier on, you're just default logged into each of them. And when you log into the third-party apps, you're not logging into third-party apps as if you're logging into an AI, and the AI is doing it for you. You're just doing it like a human would. And once you're logged in, the AI consumes the website, the logged in version of the site, like you would, but it cannot log in on your behalf and do things and take over your thing. It can't do all this. So that's the biggest advantage of the browser architecture over something like ChatGPT's agent or operator, which is it forces you to log in via their server and like virtual server, and like that's not necessarily like great security wise.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I was sort of like thinking of, I mean, I guess it's a minor thing, but like, I use one password and I'm constantly logging in.
You
it's
can import
like
that extension here.
You can't. Yeah, yes, you can. That's true. Although there was something about like it wasn't perfect yet or something like that. But
we'll fix that. I think
Yeah.
iCloud passwords are still pending because we haven't got the approval yet from Apple to support it.
Speaking of Apple, I'm curious because this is built on Chromium.
Yeah.
And Apple, if you're on iOS, you can only use WebKit as the browser, engine. So do you see a way to get this working on mobile? Do you have to take some different approach, or do you not see it as a mobile?
By design, you cannot have a rendering on iOS without WebKit. Basically, all browsers on iOS need to have the Safari style WebKit rendering engine. So what you could do is you could have a multi-platform approach where you build it in something like Kotlin, Compose multi-platform. You write most of your code in that, like which is roughly like a version of JavaScript. We are simplifying this a lot, but let's for the sake of simplicity, you're not writing code in like Swift UI, but you can have a compiler that convert that into Swift UI code, and then that's what gets into the App Store. The disadvantage of that approach is you might not be doing everything the most optimal way. Advantage is that you don't have to write separate lines of code for iOS and Android. Android does support Chromium, so there's a lot of benefits from just reusing a lot of the code that we already have built for Mac OS and Windows. There are certain other restrictions on iOS, like background processes cannot run on the client if the app is on the background, basically. So if you run like these agentic tasks where the server and the client have to talk to each other quite frequently for a while, like 2 to 3 minutes worth of work, no one's going to be able to like just have the app open for while the agent is performing its stuff and information is being parsed from the client and sent to the server back and forth. So if we cannot get the job done in like say 30 seconds, like what's the right approach here to still have the agent running on the background while you go back to YouTube or Netflix and do something else? I think that is the architectural challenge. Either the solution has to be like a virtual version of the browser running on the cloud for you in case you want to run these things on the background, or if you really care about privacy, just stay on the app until the job is done. I think the second one is kind of annoying, so that's where we need Apple to also like be more flexible on their policies where, okay, those who are running agents, as long as they're running things in a way that we want them to run, we probably increase the amount of time we allow for background processes to run, even when the apps are on the background. They're obviously concerned about several security risks, like what if a hacker uses this to like hack into your iPhone, or like using a background app to control some other app, or pulling information from your client. There are like obviously like security risks that they are worried about. So we hope to figure out something together with them, and in the meanwhile support whatever we can in the next few months.
How much of those issues around these, like the iOS and I guess to a lesser extent Android ecosystems, is the reason you and others have talked about hardware, like wanting to do hardware?
I wasn't interested in hardware just because like Apple has all these policies and restrictions. I think like if you really, in my opinion, okay, like this is my opinion, and I think I could be wrong here. I know Zuckerberg and Sam Altman have different ideas, but in my opinion, if you really want to go for hardware, you got to go for the phone. Mm-hmm. You have to build a phone. Mm-hmm. You cannot escape the phone. Like you can try to build things that let you track people in a way that Apple would never let you do that. Like for example, Apple was never going to let you have an app that runs on the background 24/7 and listen to every single meeting you're on, like almost like a spy recorder or something. But that's kind of device that Johnny, Ivan, and Sam seem to want to build, which is
right.
At least from the interview I listened to, it felt like, oh, like I'm talking to you here and I don't want to open my MacBook and like do a ChatGPT prompt. You don't have to already do that. Like you literally could take your voice mode action shortcut on your iOS and have it ask the question. So only thing that you can go beyond the phone there is like you don't even have to ask the question. You can literally say the AI was listening to you and I, and then it's like, hey AI, what do you think? It has that context, so it feels even more natural, blended. But that only works if you turn on the recorder.
Sure.
And it was listening to you all the time, right? And if iOS doesn't let you do that, yes, you do need to have some other pendant or like chain or like speaker or like microphone or earbud. I don't know. Like there's all sorts of like form factors you could build for this, but it still doesn't let you actually control any other apps. Like you have to build a browser for that, right? Like you to control third-party apps, or you have to have API access to all these third-party apps through MCP servers, and then and they have to let you do that. So the hardware is not actually solving these problems for you. The hardware is just solving like one problem of getting additional context about the user's day-to-day life and activities beyond what's there on their device. And in my opinion, it's not as useful as actually building the browser to get the context.
Yeah.
And the browser is also a much more secure and like user-friendly way of getting the context rather than kind of like this creepy way of listening to every single thing you do. And, like it's kind of weird. Once you turn it on, and you're like having a very private conversation with a friend, and this AI is listening to it, it feels scary to have like that much context put into it. At least on the browser, there are controls like incognito where you can just like browse incognito, and leave alone AI is like the only one who can listen to you there is either your employer or your internet service provider, right? That's why I prefer the browser. There's ways to get zero retention there. You can run queries incognito, you can browse incognito, you can have zero retention, you can go and delete your queries. On the other hand, your audio being recorded real time on everything you're around and being sent to the servers, transcribed there, like that feels a lot more dangerous to give someone so much power over your life.
It does. Although I wonder if people, it's surprising. I mean, if you look at like 10 years ago, what we're willing to do today. So the Overton window could shift.
I'm not against the future where like we have helpful AI devices beyond the phone that we could use. I think like these kind of things, and if I go to a meeting with a doctor and like both of us have like some kind of device that transcribes meetings and automatically puts it in the notes and like centralizes it in all systems, and I can take my records to another doctor. And I also have it on my phone. I don't have to use some third-party app like Oracle's database or whatever. I think all that feels great. My only concern is like why can't these just be apps on your iPhone, right? Like if it's very specific to certain occasions. Like for example, a lot of journalists use certain apps for recording like the interview, which automatically transcribes it, diarizes it, and then you can convert that into like your set of preparation notes for writing the article, right? You never needed a device. Like there were recorder devices, but they all like the iPhone kind of like made them useless. Some people still use those devices just out of like nostalgia. There's a nostalgic element to it, but there's not a utility element to it today, right?
Yeah. You've said though you wanted to do hardware. So have you changed your mind, or are you going to build a phone?
No, I'm not building any phones. I'm not working on any hardware projects right now. I think the software is what's going to make the hardware feel special, in my opinion. And the biggest restriction on the phone is not access to context outside the phone, like the listening devices, but it's actually figuring out agentic AI that can call third-party apps and perform actions on your behalf, because that's what. By the way, everybody criticizes Apple, where Android is more restrictive than Apple in many of these things. At least Apple has SDKs that give you access to their own native apps. Like you can get Apple Mail, you can get podcasts, you can get Apple Music, Notes, Calendar. Android has like nothing. Like you have to go through the Google Cloud for access to Gmail and Calendar, even though they are native apps. So the biggest restriction, in my opinion, is actually like Uber, DoorDash, Amazon, all these other apps that you cannot call, and they're firewalls. So you have to have a browser which you can access and open these third-party apps as like tabs on your mobile web browsers. Challenges are that most people don't care about mobile web maintenance anymore. They're just building for the apps, so developers don't spend time maintaining it, so that's going to make it hard for the agent to consume it. But again, benefits of that, agents can deal with shitty UIs as long as all the information is there. It can work. The only issue is like the workflow should work. Like actually clicking on the button should do something. If that's buggy and the JavaScript code is buggy, it's not being maintained, there's a problem. So we'll see how far we go in this vision. Like, but my feeling is working on the mobile browser and figuring out all these like client server hybrid architectures and privacy and security guarantees, voice-based controls. Like I think that is the bigger challenge, like nailing that software that's cross-platform and asynchronous. And like hardware is a massive distraction. If the mobile browser is cracked and it's so good that you're mostly just going to that app and becomes the everything app on your phone, then it makes sense to dream about having a phone where the central piece of computing on the phone is the browser. I think that would be interesting, exciting, and we'll approach it there once we graduate to the next step.
Yeah. And so you could almost see where a phone, you can control other apps in a way through the phone by sort of going outside the phone, like you were sort of saying earlier, I think, right? You go out to the cloud or something and you run, maybe it happens in a virtual, computer somewhere, right? Some sort of container. And then it uses a web interface.
Yeah.
Outside mobile, basically. So
because there are other ways in which you could foresee an agentic future where some third-party apps are like just abstracting themselves out as backend APIs or MCP servers, and then that could be another future. So we are pretty flexible and pragmatic here. We don't want to subscribe to, there is this one vision we have and everybody should work in that manner, which is what I kind of don't like about the MCP approach. Is like you either have to subscribe to it or you don't, right? Like it's not compatible with like multiple alternatives. For us, Comet is like pretty compatible. Like we are gonna support it because I think all these models are getting post-trained to be MCP compatible. So if the agents work better under that protocol, like we have to make sure those protocols are how like third-party apps connect to the models, and context is being pulled. Whether it's being pulled from a computer-using agent or a direct backend API, it doesn't matter, right? So I think that's our vision for now. I have like very little insight on how things will play out. I don't want to waste much time like kind of like playing these games of like, like everybody subscribes to our vision and this is the agenda. If people if people want to like just not get disintermediated, and that's fine. Like if the user permits us to do something on their behalf, we'll do it. And we're not actually doing it on the server as an aggregator. So the user is literally like giving us permission to act on their behalf. And so for you as a third-party server, like it should feel just like a user did it. And if you still have problems there, I think it's because of your business model and less about like serving the user better, right? Because for customer support or like anything else, the user is still going to come back to you, not to us.
Speaking of business model, so this is still, you mentioned there's 1 million people on the wait list. Is that because this stuff is still taking up a lot of tokens? It's really expensive?
No, I think it's because of multiple reasons. One of which is definitely that, not going to lie, but main reason is actually that there's a lot of infra that needs to be rewritten on our end for supporting agents natively, because this involves a lot of client server communications. Right. So when you're firing up a task to go place a order on Uber Eats for you, or like a grocery delivery on Instacart, it's first controlling the website, pulling the recipe, pulling all the ingredients, and then figuring out all the items to go and place the order. Then controlling Instacart one by one and adding each item, and then communicating the current state back to the agent on the server. Like there's like a lot of interactions. And a lot of logging, and so too many connection requests. So doing all this like requires a stable infrastructure in case like some backend API breaks in between. You don't want to see this stupid error message of like connection limit exceeded, like some red flag.
Right.
And it's going to create a crappy experience for you. So a lot of fallbacks in place, resuming the trajectory from the current state. You need to have the equivalent of something like a stateful MCP. Like there's a lot of things we need to figure out on our end at the back end and infrastructure layer that has nothing to do with costs.
Right.
And there are like too many unknowns here that we can only do it along the way, like seeing some of the bugs people flag to us explicitly and going and fixing them, and building a rigorous eval suite for agents, not for answers. We've already done for answers. So eval suite for agents is the only way to track real progress. And having a way to run automated evals, like verifying completion of a task is very difficult. It's not like a coding problem where there's like one deterministic correct answer. There are multiple ways you could have accomplished a browsing task. So having rigorous eval sets that are automated and constantly expanding suite of evals, non-breaking infrastructure, adapting to the new models that come in, forecasting the costs per user based on the amount of agentic queries each user performs, and then figuring out like how to actually widen up access where there's a core basic browsing functionality, which we think we're already better than at Chrome. And then there's all the AI native capabilities, agents, personal searches, and like forecasting how much the average user would use each of these different features. What's the usage to the power among the power users who use a lot of these capabilities, and then coming up with like the right upsells. Okay, after these many personal searches or after these many agentic queries, you have to like subscribe, or you can keep using the browser as like a regular browser. Or every day you're going to get a bunch of free users, but after that, like you're going to, subscribe. So we need to figure out all these numbers, and there are a lot of people who made mistakes here, like Cursor and Claude Code, where like they went too far optimistic on the usage, and then like people started using it way more than they thought, and then they downgraded, and then people got really annoyed. We want to avoid all these like mishaps. So I think going slower and steadier is better here. So that's why we decided to slowly increase the access. Every day we are sending tens of thousands of new invites. And every day we're also getting more people to sign up for the wait list. And every day we are like working on reducing costs by like trying to see like if a cheaper model can do the same job, or at least parts of it. And we're also constantly working on increasing reliability and like making our infra more scalable. And this needs time.
How much does having a background of like a true AI researcher background, and like I think for people watching this, like I remember I talked to one of your professors at Berkeley who said like you could have been a AI professor, like you were on that level. So just to give people that context to appreciate, but how much does being like a true AI researcher, at the foundation level, like help in sort of understanding where how fast these models are progressing, what products you can offer and when, that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely it helps a lot. Not just me, my co-founder Dennis is also like from that background, and he's very strong, and actually he's way stronger than I am at the backend infrastructure, because he comes from a background where he also did search. Like he worked, his first job was at Microsoft Bing, so he has very good knowledge of that, and he also built like Quora's recommendation feed algorithm with my other co-founder Johnny. So they all understand scalable backend systems, and like AI and neural net and infrastructure for training, inference, making the right decisions on like costs, quality trade-offs, making decisions that are like scalable, rather like things that would stand the test of time rather than being hacks and fixes for the short term. So they bring in so much knowledge here that I actually learned a lot of that from working with them. At the same time, my experience like in just being a good systems thinker about any problem, and fundamentally boiling the problem down to like the core essence, and it's a skill I developed during PhD. And so a pretty accurate understanding. I would say it's less about AI research skills and more like just problem solving skills and like reasoning skills, right? Because I'm not like as close to whatever is happening to the models anymore. I do track and follow research papers, but critically speaking, I do not know every individual trick that went into training a system like O3 or Sonnet 4.4, Sonnet 4. How does the extended thinking work? How do they do long context reasoning? How do they ensure that instruction following doesn't degrade as context windows increase? I do not know the details that went into the post-training or pre-training anymore. I used to be able to follow and keep track of things until like GPT-4, but after that, the amount of progress that's been made, and most of it is closed source, so it's very difficult to know. Even though China publishes and papers and like talks a lot about the benchmarks and evals, they don't actually talk much about the data sets they train on. They don't talk about like what went into the post training and all that. So it's very difficult to understand. But I do have a very good understanding of like, okay, if a query is not working, if a user flags a bug, we myself and the technically like top people in the company can immediately triage if it happened because there was a problem with the search indexing, or was it a problem with like the query not being reformulated well, or was it a problem with like the agent router like not breaking down into the right individual steps, or was it a problem with the summarizer making mistakes despite all these other steps? So we have a pretty good way to triage things and fix things, and I love like that process. Actually, that is the one that lets me stay in the details, because being basically like a customer support representative for your company, but with an engineering mindset, helps you get a sense of like the current limitations and where things break and don't break. And the other thing that really helps me is being a user, like really use your product like obsessively, religiously, regularly, not just for testing, but just like, I'm using it like a user. And if it doesn't work for me, I'm going to be frustrated. Like I have this thing, my wife actually uses my product a lot too. And she says like frustrated pro user. That's the term she uses. So every time there's like, why would someone pay for your product if they encounter bugs so regularly? It's okay to encounter bugs in the first few months, but it's not okay to encounter bugs after 2 years. Like you better, go and fix these things. And very fair feedback. I understand it's hard, and every engineer has 20 things to work on, and no one likes to wake up every day and keep fixing bugs. It kills the fun in the whole journey of you joined this company for coming and building exciting new products, not just like going and fixing 1,000 bugs a day. But you only get ahead of the competition by fixing 1,000 bugs a day. When people speak, oh, Perplexity works, why can't Google do this? You know why? Because there are tens of thousands of bugs, and these are new bugs. They haven't encountered these already while working on Google search. Right. These are this is a different stack. This is building for the future, not for the past. It's not something you slot into the past and it just works out of the box. So I think that's why it takes time, and that's why they've also learned their lessons of when they try to do AI overview and all those funny hallucinations. I think they've learned their lessons that, okay, we're not the kings anymore. Let's be humble and do the things in the right way.
How do you think, by the way, Google, how would you rate? They're in a tough position, I think, right? They have great AI research. They're leaders in the field, but then their business model is, at some point, they have to think about cannibalizing that. How do you think? And I know you're a student of management and leadership. How do you think Sundar's doing over there?
I think he's doing really well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I don't know what to do if I were in his position. I don't think it's easy. I think he's doing the right thing by growing cloud as a business, which I think a lot of credit needs to be given to Thomas Kurian as well. He's operated at Google Cloud with maniacally ruthless efficiency that you would see in the top world-class CEOs. And I think props to Sundar for hiring him and giving him all the leverage he needs to execute at this level. So 50 billion a year in annual revenue for Google Cloud, and then YouTube is 40 billion or something, and then subscriptions across YouTube and Google One, I think it's a few 10 billion. So I think that together, just Google and Google Cloud and YouTube and subscriptions is pretty massive business for them. And that said, the margins are like not as high as search advertising on this revenue, and that still remains a risk. And they just have to admit that, it's okay to go through a few years of suffering to come back stronger. If they come back stronger out of this, they'll be like Microsoft as a company. No, that's not meant to be in any derogatory way or anything like that. That's what immediate knee-jerk reaction is. What I mean to say is they'll have a diversified business. Like Microsoft is not just Windows, right? It's right. Windows and Azure and SQL Server services, and then gaming and LinkedIn and GitHub and Bing Like it's a lot of things. So I think Google will be similar to it. It's going to have like a portfolio of businesses, but search margins will keep going down. There's no questions, because AI, like agentic search, will eventually want to be loyal to the user. That's how you win here. You're not going to win by being nice to the advertiser, and so and the user will obviously pay once you're delivering the value, but they're not going to pay you as much as the advertisers pay you. And so because everybody's pockets are limited and advertisers have a lot of money to spend, how are they going to make up for all that lost margins? Like they just have to build more businesses with decent margins, and the market will respect the revenue for its diversity rather than like high margins. That's how they get a good price per earnings ratio. And I think that's the strategy. It's pretty clear. Like every time you read through the earnings call transcripts, like clearly the focus is that, we are a very diversified business. Search is just one part of it. Like I think that's their strategy.
That's interesting. I think a lot of people don't appreciate with you that you have this AI research background. You also like are it's clear talking to you that you have a passion for business too, for running companies and in organizations. Like I was just curious where you.
I
get
remember
that
this
from.
Ilya Sutskever tweet of like, why is managing people actually hard? It's just distributed programming in natural language. It's still there. The tweet is still there. He hasn't taken it down. So yeah, I mean, at the end, like business is not like, business means you go and wine and dine and like do a bunch of charismatic like statements. Got to do the Steve Jobs marketing. No, you just have to be yourself, and it's still at the end of the day problem solving. You have constraints. As a startup, we have like insane amount of constraints. We don't have the brand. I understand everything's about distribution. And when you have distribution, you have a different set of constraints. Like you cannot ship like Perplexity. You cannot be insanely fast. You cannot have like 20 bugs in production every day, because bugs at the scale of billion users will truly like hurt your brand. So there are systems and processes in place you need to have at that scale, and there are like advantages that you have at this scale. There are disadvantages you have when you don't have any awareness and no one cares about what you're doing. There are like advantages you have where even if you ship a small feature that someone else shipped like 7 months ago, everyone takes you seriously because you have like billion users. So I understand like it's at the end like constraint optimization, problem solving, and so that is not a skill that's unique to research. I think it applies to anything in life, right? You have a household problem, you have a certain budget. Everyone's creative in figuring out their own solutions, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But you have a real passion for it too. Is that something you had growing up, or something you had to learn?
No, I acquired it. And then Google was a big reason for that. I studied like the company pretty deeply.
You read In the Plex and all that. We've talked
Not
about
just that,
before,
by the way. I actually, I know everyone writes about that, but I think like there's just like some product tastes that they had that I like. Let me, a few examples is like, I think Kevin Systrom mentioned this in some podcast, I forgot which, where he was a product manager in Google before starting Instagram, and he worked on the Gmail project, and so what they did to make sure your emails load really fast once you type enter, like your username and password, which other email clients do not have, was when you're even typing your email on the Gmail window, they automatically like preemptively like opportunistically assume that you're going to log in and start pulling your emails even while you're typing in the password. Because they have the cookies to know which username it is. So that's the extent to which they optimize the backend so that the user doesn't feel the latency. And this is only going to come from like really trying to like delighting the user and giving it to them even before they ask for it. That's the sort of philosophy we try to apply on small things we are doing here. Like, when you turn on the voice mode, even when you're just going or hovering around the assistant button, can we like automatically start the connection request to the server? Like these are the kind of challenges I like to work with the engineers here.
Yeah. You have done some brand advertising too. I've seen some TV
Yeah.
commercials.
Yeah,
How
that
how is
was
that?
definitely inspired a lot by Apple. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
How has that done? Has that been effective?
The Lee Jung Jae ad, the lead actor was Squid Games. The one he did was
Yeah.
incredibly good. Like
Yeah.
basically, I've not met a single person who said that. Maybe Google people didn't like it, but everybody else loved it. Like the on Instagram, it got like several like tens of millions of views. And people thought we spent a lot. Like we've spent very little on actually making the ad. Very little.
So you hired a creative firm. How involved were you in the
Pretty
process?
involved. Like myself and
Yeah.
another executive in the company, Dimitri Shelenko, and a few people from our brand team. I told them that it has to feel like a game, like because he's a
Yeah.
Squid Games guy,
Yeah.
and he has to answer questions and get through levels or whatever. And then Dimitri came up with some of the settings. Oh, it has to feel like this sort of like marriage of Severance and Squid Games style session, and then we came up with some of the questions. And then obviously the studio Sandwich did a pretty great job at taking some of the high level ideas and form like actually concretizing it.
Right.
I picked the cheese on the pizza question though. That was a
How did
reference.
that? Where did that come from?
Okay, not me. I think that was done either me or Dimitri. But
Okay.
basically, we decided, okay, like let's at least be playful here. And AI Overview made that funny mistake, you remember, where
Yeah.
if you typed in, it say use the glue. So we
Yeah.
said we give the right answer, but we also say, hey, like do not use glue or something like that. So it's a reference to the past. And then we picked like questions that we know very well that like you can get these answers these days on ChatGPT or Google. That's fine, because each of them has added like sources or AI overviews have gotten better. But you don't want to pick like, oh, like go to Perplexity and ask like what is the GDP of Ukraine compared to Uganda? Like who the fuck cares if they're watching this on a like commercial on Instagram? Like you got to reach the common man.
Right.
I credit Mr. Beast for this. Actually, we had a meeting with him once. I got
Yeah.
connected to him, and so I just asked him feedback on this concept, and he's like, we had a bunch of other concepts, and he's like, you really gotta understand that the IQ level on the internet is not that high. So if you're really going for the masses, if you're going for hundreds of millions of people, you got to keep it extremely simple to the extent of like Perplexity versus Google, the two tools. Everybody knows what Google is. Links versus answers, like clear differentiation, and extremely simple day-to-day questions. Like, oh, what happens if I have stains on my shirt? Or like, how do my pizza didn't come out well? The cheese is like not sticking well. Or very simple ones. And I think that's why like it really worked. And that's my lesson from doing some other commercial we did before, which was very subtle and underplayed what Perplexity is and tried to talk about an underlying theme. Nobody
Right.
got it. Like, and I was like, damn, like I wish I knew all these things, but if the king of virality and an audience told me about it, then better follow that.
That's funny because you're also very good at Twitter. Like you
But
have got
that's just being myself. I'm not like trying to like,
yeah.
not exactly myself. That's not me as deeply as a person. I don't want to like confront people or like meme about them and all these things.
Right.
It's just like the algorithm. The algorithm rewards you for doing that because if you say something slightly, I think Mark Andreessen told me this, like on Twitter, you're never supposed to tweet something 100% correct because nobody cares. On Twitter, you're supposed to tweet something ideal engagement, highest engagement is almost with tweets that have 50% correct and 50% wrong. But identifying those statements that are like exactly half right and exactly half wrong is like really hard. Like not many such statements exist. So anywhere on that spectrum, 60-40, 70-30, I think you get like pretty good engagement. If you do something that's like, so yeah, of course, like, well, NVIDIA is the most valuable company on the planet. They've done an amazing job. Like, you're not going to get any engagement for this thing. Like,
Right,
it's
right.
true, right? Yeah.
Right. That's hard for journalists to say, oh, I want to be 50% wrong. But
Yeah. Journalists, I think I've seen some people do interesting, like there's, Mark Gurman, like he I guess the way he gets engagement is like by leaking things, right? Like, so.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Breaking news is
Yeah.
that's the bread and butter.
Yeah.
So I think he actually broke the story that you got approached by.
Yeah.
I think it was
Just
him
to
that
be
you got
clear,
approached by.
like people like Benedict Evans and all these other guys are like, oh, Perplexity went and leaked it to get M&A activity going on, and like they're really struggling. It's like, no, we did not leak that to Mark, and it's very clear. There's a statement in that article also that says we're not aware of any M&A activity. That's an official statement, and it was just coincidental timing that like the Meta article and the Apple article came together, and we were very clear that we're not interested in M&A. And I also gave an interview with Deirdre of CNBC saying like, I want to ensure little tech wins and we want to like keep going.
Yeah.
Nothing can be more definitive than that to say if we're not interested, right? And I think until then we hadn't launched Comet, so people thought, oh, like, what is this company doing? It's not going to be able to compete with ChatGPT or Google. But
Right.
I think after Comet, like people clearly understand where we're heading, why it's a big deal, why once someone is logged into Comet, like the amount of queries they do on Perplexity just increases multifold. It's a multiplier effect. And scaling distribution of Comet is a much different, easier game to play than Perplexity, because you can actually like do a ton of things on the commerce side, and so that's why like I'm very excited about this like a new chapter for our company. Like kind of like how for Google they did Google Toolbar even before doing Google Chrome, which helped them a lot. Because Google Toolbar was something that, the way they did the distribution was anytime you install any desktop software, they paid the other desktop softwares to like companies to like also install the Google Toolbar on your browser.
Right.
Because Microsoft Internet Explorer is not going to do that for Google. So then your Internet Explorer will get patched into having the toolbar, and then they saw like like 7 or 8x more queries from the toolbar, and then they would share the ad revenue on the increased queries with the people who offered to do that, like the desktop software companies who offered to do that, and that's how they grew a lot of distribution, and like that's the guy running the project was Sundar, so and so naturally Chrome was run by him too, and so. People don't understand how important distribution is, and distribution is not just like you kind of have to go and pay a bunch of websites to put you on the search bar. That's all like old games, and you'll never compete with Google there because they're going to generate way more revenue per query than you can because they already have the ad network and Mafia, and like it's a click-based system, right? Yeah. So you got to figure out your own pathway, and for us, agents and commerce and browser is going to be the way to go for that.
So is it not true? Did Meta approach you guys, or
I cannot comment on whether they approached me, but the thing is like we just are not interested in any M&A right now. We like also like just think about it, like we are such a risky bet to make for anyone. Even like say if Meta wants to build a browser. They're not competing against us on the browser. They're competing against Google, right? And Google has like so many resources to throw. Like, okay, Google may not take us as seriously, but let's say OpenAI also enters the browser game. They're gonna start sweating a little. And then like let's say Meta suddenly wants to build a browser, it's gonna be even more competitive. So I think that the risky thing here is not about like whether it's run by Meta or Perplexity. It's more like the big brother is too powerful, and no one wants to even try, whether they're big tech or little tech. So at least we want to try, and if there's only two possibilities here, right? You come out winning or you die, and the victory is very special because it was done against an extremely formidable opponent.
Right. Ilya said another thing to you. He said, that there's like two ways you can work on AI and product at the same time, which is self-driving cars and search.
Yeah.
Is that still true, do you think? Because now you're in this browser space. It's basically an OS. Is the
Yeah,
long term
I
goal?
actually think it's the same, but it's probably gotten like a third category, which is a merge of search and self-driving, which is, agents on the browser. So browser feels like a car,
Yeah.
agent feels like autopilot or FSD. I think it's in the autopilot stage today, not in FSD.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
and even if FSD works, you're still gonna like want to drive a car just for the nostalgia of it or fun of it or like whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Like I think it feels nice to like have a wheel. Like it's gonna take a while for people to truly just buy cars that have no wheels.
Yeah.
Because not I don't mean the wheels outside the car, the steering wheel, because people are gonna want to have that feeling that's the real car. Otherwise, it feels like some box that transported you, right?
Right.
And so the browser is going to feel the same way too. Like you probably don't need to browse sites
Right.
when agents are fully reliable. You can have it pay your credit card bills. You can have it like read your bank statements. You can have it like book your flight tickets, pick your seats, order your meals, everything. It'll do it. But you might still want to like go and log into X.com and browse like hot takes of like other journalists, right?
Yeah.
You can have you can delegate that to an AI too, but how do you derive the human dopamine of like just discovering these cute little small things on the web that you derive some pleasure from?
So we're expanding the definition of self-driving then, I guess.
Yeah, self-driving is applying to like not just like physical transportation, but like digital labor. Kind of like
Right.
how Elon says, right? Oh, Optimus, the humanoid, is the next extension for Tesla, next chapter for Tesla, because we're going to take all the technology we built for moving from point A to point B to like actually accomplishing any form of like physical labor. I think like that's basically what's happening here. You're taking all the technology that was built for like doing multi-step search to multi-step actions and then any form of like digital labor.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. I wonder if the vision, if also there's just like the multimodal
This
sort
isn't
of
meant to
like,
like just replace people or something. It's meant to like augment them, be like an autopilot for them, and give them back a lot more time. No one in the world complains, honestly, that if you're working at a very fast-paced company, these days big companies in AI are moving as fast as startups. So no one in the world is going to complain to get like say a 3 to 4 day work week. Um, you know, where
yeah.
you got a lot done with the help of an AI, and you got more time spent with your family and kids, or connect with your friends.
Yeah.
Some people want to build AI friends so that they can get more of your engagement time and sell more ads. Like we don't want to do that.
Well, and we haven't touched on this, but like the actual, we talked a little bit about the business model, but how are you thinking about advertise? Is there a way to offer these products for free with ads, or do you think that idea is it going to be replaced by some other sort of form of commerce or monetization?
I think it's too early to say anything here. I think one thing I would say is don't underestimate the subscription market. That's my mistake so far, and I give credit to OpenAI here for showing the world that $10 billion in revenue can be built with just largely, not entirely. I think they have like 10 to 15 million paying subscribers, so maybe 3 to 5 billion a year is just coming from people paying out of their pocket, and no
Yeah.
one assumed that would be ever possible. Like people
Right.
thought, okay, how many people have money to pay $20 a month? I would even say we are underestimating the $200 a month tier. Like there's going to be millions of people who pay for that. Um, if 10 million people are paying for Bloomberg Terminal, and it's like a 10 to 12 billion dollar revenue product, the only reason Bloomberg even exists as a company, because no other revenue, I think 90% or 92% of the money comes from Bloomberg Terminal today. Um, I think like we are really underestimating the $200 a month tier, and that's going to be a $2,000 a month tier. And so when the top of the funnel of AI usage expands to hundreds of millions of people using it on a weekly or daily basis, And then tens of millions are paying $20 a month. A few million are paying $200 a month. Few hundreds of thousands are paying $2,000 a month. You're going to make a ton of money, like tens of billions a year, without a single ad. And is that like a valuable company to build? I definitely think so. It's more valuable than almost any enterprise software company that's been built recently.
Yeah.
More valuable than Airbnbs and DoorDashes and Ubers, Stripes, you know. So can that become 100 billion a year revenue company by itself without any ad? Like TBD. It has to scale like another order of magnitude. I don't know. It's possible that you could also monetize consumption, like, not just a subscription fee, but sometimes for the work you did, you got paid for this much, and the value of that's decided by how much it would cost to hire a human for the same task. And so you
Right.
start to rationalize all these things. Like you paid people on TaskRabbit a lot of money too, right? Or Upwork.
Yeah.
And when AI does it, and you can do it in the weekend, you can do it like anytime. There's no need to actually hire and like talk and do a meeting and do diligence checks. A lot of time saved. So all that stuff's gonna start feeling more and more valuable. Like you're gonna rationalize paying more money to AIs beyond just like, oh, why am I paying this chatbot money? Oh, I'm actually paying this agent some money to get things done. And then there's going to be another form of monetization where businesses pay agents for driving commerce to them.
Right.
This is a Booking.com style of making money. Expedia, OpenTable, or like Shopify does that with merchants. That's also going to be possible for agents to start getting paid directly by merchants and local businesses. Restaurants pay DoorDash. So a lot of things can be disintermediated by agents, and then when that happens, it's going to be an alternate form of revenue outside the user for agents to make money, and then that revenue earned by the agent company can be split by them and the user.
Are you seeing? Is your commerce taking off? Like you have these deals with PayPal and I think some other payment providers. Like,
Yeah.
Are people buying stuff through Perplexity at any
No,
sort
we
of?
haven't actually finished any integration work yet with PayPal. We're working on it.
Okay.
And that's why the Comet is the play, right? Perplexity is difficult to drive commerce by itself.
Right.
Whereas on Comet, whether you buy as an AI or as a human, you still buy. Like once you're on a browser, you buy using the browser. You ask queries on the browser. You don't just use a browser for AI. That's the biggest, like that's what the main point I made even internally is like the browser is bigger than and the core product because we get a TAM that doesn't even care about AI.
Right. Right. I mean, you could see where. Yeah. I mean, you could see where like if I did, I would like change my airline ticket. Right. If Perplexity's agent says, "Do you want to upgrade?"
Yeah.
Or buy a premium seat, like
Exactly.
you get a cut of that or something, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
If Perplexity got a cut from like say United or something for that,
Right.
for driving that additional commerce to them, and then I gave some of that back to you, Reed, as points to spend on your next flight booking. I think all these can be great ways to drive more commerce.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, and where you'd get like there'd be microtransactions or something along those lines. I think,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I mean, yeah, that would be very interesting. How many do you have? A 200 a month plan as well. Do you see that as like? Do people have both the OpenAI plan and their Perplexity, or is it like one or?
It's
one or
possible.
the other?
It's very hard for me to know if my Max subscribers are also paying for OpenAI Plus. What's it called? I think they call it Pro.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there are some people who have Claude Max, Perplexity Max, and OpenAI like Pro and Gemini Ultra, like just to try out all these tools. Right, like
Right.
this is all very new and exciting and interesting. But yeah, eventually you're not going to be able to spend on every tool. So there'll be some tools you're going to spend for certain use cases, and there'll be some tools like I think at least Claude has differentiated themselves from the rest as like, oh, this is the coding tool. For
Right.
Perplexity, we plan to be the the daily agent workflow thing. That's the main focus for like the subscription at least. I think ChatGPT is like oh, this is the AI sub. Like I just have like it's kind of like
Yeah.
uh, the default thing everybody knows. For Google, it's I think they're trying to do a value prop more centered around like, oh, you get storage, you get like, Google Photos, like all these like other stuff they add along with the actual AIs. But it's all like very differentiated messaging right now around like why you should have a pro subscription for each of these different tools. But over time, I think it won't just be like a bundle of things. It'll start to like converge to like few core elements where you are like excellent at that others cannot be as good as you.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, because I could see where like if OpenAI is offering like everything, and they have a browser too, do you have to then just offer? It's basically like you have to become everything for people as well. Like you do my coding for me. I know people do use it that way.
Yeah, we've been at peace with the fact that we'll never be able to do everything.
Yeah.
Being able to do everything is going to be difficult. You can do everything reasonably, but you can't do everything amazingly well.
Right.
And so for us, anything to do with search, using the web for performing actions, we want to be the best at these things. And I think there's tens of billions of revenue to be made here.
Yeah.
There's a multi-$100 billion company to be built there, regardless of like commerce and revenue and all that. I don't even know how that's going to plan out for anyone, but just subs
Just subs. Yeah.
is a massive business to be built here. So we're very focused on that, and like that's why I'm saying like why would you sell the company now? Like you have a multi-$100 billion opportunity here, and if you have a if you actually get there, you can dream for the $1 trillion opportunity too. Like why not, right? Like when was the last time a $1 trillion company was built? It's been ages.
been
It
a
was
while.
Facebook is the youngest company there, I think. Meta.
Is it the youngest? Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it-
because Broadcom
could be.
also became a
Yeah.
$1 trillion company. Tesla is also a $1 trillion company, but technically they were all founded earlier or around then. So it's been
Yeah.
ages since a new company founded in 2010s or later became a $1 trillion. I'm guessing OpenAI will get there first.
Yeah.
But they were founded in 2015, so they're a much older company than us. People like to think they founded exactly the year ChatGPT was launched. That's not true, though.
They've been around for a while. That's true.
Yeah.
It's as a nonprofit originally, but yeah. Which is a whole other
Out there,
saga.
it's still a nonprofit.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, the
There's the
conversion-
for-profit entity that's run by that actually, I wonder if that actually is going to give you, gives you a little bit of a.
No, I'm not. I think they'll convert. I think Microsoft and OpenAI will find out a structure that works for both of them, and
Yeah.
I actually think it's important for them to continue. They're very synonymous, deservedly so, with like the word AI itself right now, and I think they should continue. And like we also like use a lot of their technology, and so many others too.
What do you think of Grok? Because you look at all these different models. They just recently, Grok 4, I know that you got to take these benchmarks with a grain of salt, but like beat on all these benchmarks.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fast trajectory there too. I mean, they went from nothing to,
Yeah.
Are you impressed by that?
Definitely. The speed at which they're building new models is very impressive. Like, and the fact that it's all done on their own cluster, it's not using Azure or like Oracle or something. And like the time they started to the time they actually got on parity with the leading labs, and the speed at which they're doing it is like outright insane. And I think it's a true testament to Elon Musk's leadership and urgent sense of urgency and like getting things done, and also like being efficient about it. He didn't spend that much money. He spent a lot of money, but like definitely not as much as people would think you need. And and not just like one release, right? That's the most important thing. Like I think they did Grok 2, that was not great. Grok 3 was really good, and then 4. So it's that incremental releases that keep making them better and better. So they're very formidable as a company.
Yeah. And so do you think who would you say like of the players is going to be, you know, it, like just with the frontier labs, like who's going to come out on top if you had to handicap? You've got like Google, XAI, now Meta's trying to catch back up. You know, what do you think?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I think like momentum-wise, OpenAI, Anthropic, XAI, Google. Um, yeah, I think these feel like the main players to me.
So you'd put okay, so those would be the ones. So you'd put XAI up in there. That is pretty remarkable
No, I mean
to
like
think about it. I
these are
mean,
there's no order here.
yeah,
Like momentum, technically
yeah,
speaking, developer mindshare, it's Claude and like GPTs are the main models, and Gemini is really like doing well there too.
yeah,
XAI has doesn't people use the Grok app, but not as much the API.
right,
Um, but it's definitely catching up in terms of capabilities. Um, and multimodal, maybe not so much yet compared to the rest. But
yeah,
like core reasoning and math and all that, they're doing really well. So I would say these four seem like the main players to me, and you shouldn't forget Queen. How do you call it? Queen, yeah,
yeah,
Alibaba's models.
yeah. Alibaba's, yeah, yeah,
I'm sure DeepSeek's going to have another model. Like it's just a matter of time. And so I would say like those are the the underrated ones. The Chinese models are actually really good, and they're
yeah,
open source. You can actually use them, and so I think these six seem like the main. Like, I'm including DeepSeek and Queen because they
yeah,
have not just done one model; they've done multiple ones. So the
yeah.
reason I think they're also going to be important is they also move really fast in terms of catching up.
Right, right. Yeah, that'll be fascinating. And I guess you have a good window into that because you can see. I mean, the
Yeah,
pro
exactly.
version you can do the
Yeah,
drop
I
down
have. Yeah, we have
and
like good
pick.
insight into which models are
Yeah,
being used by people and we just take out models that nobody uses,
yeah,
even because it's not a good use of our time to support it, and it's almost like the market dictates. Which
right.
we have a very good visibility into like who's that's the thing like there are that's the thing we get visibility into that the benchmarks don't reveal is who is actually like are people actually using your model, because if it's not good they're going to switch over to something else that works.
Yeah,
And we also have our own models that we're building on top of open source, and we don't want to compete on any of these benchmarks. It's purely meant for like, will our own users adopt it over like GPTs or Claude, and and,
right.
and we're seeing good adoption there too.
That's fascinating. Yeah, because there's no. I mean, it's literally super easy. You just hit the drop down, and
Yeah,
there's no cost to it.
yeah,
But I do wonder if people just kind of like get used to it and they just forget. They're just leave it there at some point
yeah. They do, by the way.
because they're all.
A lot of people
Yeah,
once that's the staying power of a model, which is and OpenAI is a big beneficiary of this, which is like
yeah,
ChatGPT as an app just kind of works. So it takes a lot for another app to like take a user away from ChatGPT to them. So you have to be truly excellent when
yeah,
someone else is like already doing a great job and excellent on certain use cases that are repeat, not just a novelty thing. So for example, the anime or waifu characters that Grok did, I think it's a
right.
one way to like it's different from ChatGPT. So it definitely helps you to get people to install the app. But then it's not necessarily a repeat use case, except for like few people who desperately need those kind of things. So you
Right.
actually, that's the standards set by the market leader that you have to like keep differentiating yourself. And that's why we felt like this is a rat race, and the
Yeah.
more important capability that makes all these things feel like toys is actually going and being able to do stuff for the user and operate at a front end and abstraction that's different and bigger than chatbot, which is a browser.
Yeah. This is great. I know we're over time, but is there anything else I didn't get to that you want to mention? Any news coming up or?
Um, I think yeah. So we'll stay in touch. I think for anything upcoming announcements. But yeah, it was great chatting with you, and
Yeah.
always enjoy like chatting with you on strategy. I mean, I think you're generally like very curious person, which is the kind of users we like appealing to.
Right. I think that's true. This is a good attribute for a journalist, I guess. But
Yeah.
no, it's always fun chatting. It's great to catch up, and we'll talk soon. Well, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. You can read more in print over at semafor.com. Sign up for the Semafor Tech newsletter to get all of our content on technology. It's a free twice-a-week newsletter, and I hope to see you back here soon.